Hello, team. Welcome to this week's podcast with me, Daniel Kennedy, Wealth Dragon Coach, and this is your Wednesday dose of wealth wisdom. Just going to share this and wait for a few more of you to come online. The topic today is, when should I indulge? Like, when am I ready to indulge? Is it all work? And that's what we're going to be discussing. Because a lot of the time we can lose sight of why we're actually involved in business. And sometimes we just end up work and no play, and that can be detrimental. But also deciding when the right time is to start indulging a little bit. Here we are. So share it to a few places. I say this all the time, but there needs to be some sort of system. You can just share it to all the places that you want to. Right, hello and welcome to your Wednesday dose of wealth wisdom with me, Daniel Kennedy, the Wealth Dragon Coach. And today's topic is, when is the right time to indulge? When is it time to indulge? Because often we can lose sight of why we get involved in business as opposed to the normal 9-to-5 job. And initially the transition can be really, really difficult because you're working, say, 40 hours a week. And when you own a business, the chances are initially you'll still be in your full-time job, and you will then also be doing the additional hours on your side business. So that's the most cases, certainly was for me. So when you come into a bit of money, because it's really hard not to feel justified in spending as opposed to reinvesting when you first come into that little bit of money. Perhaps you've made the jump into full-time property already or full-time business, and then you maybe got your first big windfall and you're thinking, right, I'm going to go splash out. And what can happen before you're 100% secure? For me, I came into a huge windfall after a big deal. I put the question out there, is it time to indulge? And it was very interesting because majority of the circle that I'm in, and I consider them all to be investors and fairly financially literate, all said indulge. There was only a select few that said invest, and it came down to a 30-70 split, which was surprising for myself. And it would have been very easy because it's obviously, I preach poverty and I preach living a frugal life, but I obviously would like a nice car. I would obviously like a bigger house. I would obviously like to go travel. Everyone does. Like, why bother doing all this stuff if you're not going to enjoy the rewards of your labor, the fruits of your labor, setting up the businesses, setting up the systemization to enable to produce income? Like, what's the point if you're just going to keep doing it over and over and over again? But for me, we still have investors. So we raise finance for deals. And on a personal note, if I was an investor and I saw somebody who I had invested in, and then they then start buying supercars when they haven't returned my investment, I think that sends a real bad message. Because while you are still responsible, even if it's separate money pots, while you're still responsible for other people's money, and chances are most people will have exchanged their time for that money. So you're literally in control of people's time and effort when you're investing the money. All the fruits of the labor, whether it's from different businesses or different pots or different deals, should be spent trying to return the people's investment and the people's initial principle before you start to indulge and before you start to basically enjoy the money that you're earning. So, for example, if you owe £100,000 to various investors, especially in the property world, your main focus should be paying them back or putting it into further deals or putting it into extra deals to expand, like constantly expand. And you should only really begin to indulge once you are the only person left to eat from the pie. So you've paid off your investors, you've returned the investments, you've returned the interest, because sometimes the plan may go awry and you may not be able to return it when you say you're going to, because property is never a sure thing. Things can happen. Bad thing is like you might expose a wall and there might be massive, huge, great cracks in the wall that need to be rectified. So a project might go not as planned and go over schedule, like take a bit longer, meaning you go over bridging, and that sometimes happens. And if you're then going to your investor saying, like, we need to weather this storm, it hasn't gone as planned, things have gone awry, it's going to take longer, you're not going to get your money back, and then potentially another deal has gone really well for you, but you're still in the trenches with the investor on this deal, and then, for example, I go out and spend £100,000 on a sports car when the investor's still stuck in the deal for 110,000. It sends a really bad message, and rightly so. That investor would be pissed off with you, because on one hand, you're telling me that the deal has gone awry, things have gone bad, my money's at risk. And then the other hand, you're saying, oh, things are so well, I'm going to go buy a supercar. And when you then go to the market and you try to raise finance, a lot of people might ask the question is, why are you raising finance? Why not just sell your sports car? Or why are you living such a lavish lifestyle? Is this money really going to go to this deal? Or is this money really going to go to what you say it's going to go to? And maybe I'm being overcautious, but for me, I think you need to get the investors paid back first. And say the term is 6 months ahead or 6 months in the future, it would be a much better practice and much better business sense for you to pay the investor early as opposed to hold out. Like for me to go and have a really big indulgent weekend or indulgent splurge, I'd much prefer to pay the investor back and then delay the gratification from when I don't owe any money to any other investors. The portfolio is stable, it's fully let, etc. There isn't any tasks to do. And at that point, then you can start to indulge. And the reason why I say live frugally, I don't want a sports car, because naturally I do want those things. I force it out there and I tell people that I'm never going to do it, because then I'd look like a complete idiot if I did, and I'd go back on my word. So you'll hear me say I'm really, really cheap, I try and save, and then for me to go against that and not be congruent with what I'm saying also sends a bad message. So it forces sort of me into a corner where I would look stupid to go spend £100,000 on a car, because I tell all my friends that it's stupid. Only stupid people do that, and etc. etc. When in reality, if you've got enough wealth, go and do it. It's more than fine to do that, as long as you're able to sort of sustain that type of spending. So that's why I preach frugality, living humbly, investing until your money makes money, and then using that to spend on expenses. But while I've got outstanding loans with investors, I'm never ever going to splurge. It's like that's always going to be the main focus, is to pay people their money back. As I say time and time again, if somebody's investing in you, the chances are they've invested their time for that money. So say £20,000, that's usually a whole year of savings, maybe even 2 years of savings that they're entrusting to you. And every waking second of your life should be trying to get that person their investment back. It shouldn't be going on holiday, going to splurge, having a really good time on their dime. If everything's systemized and it's ticking over well, as in property, sometimes it takes a while for you to refinance deals, get your money back out, then fine, maybe go for a short trip, but you don't want to be too far away from the phone. You don't want to be too far away from the deals, or have people in place to pick up the slack, because there's always going to be work and there's always things that you can do to improve your return. May that be investing more time in marketing to get the rooms filled so you can pay the investor back sooner, whether that be sourcing a few deals to inject into the company to pay the investor back sooner. And there really is no excuse for you to go and indulge in an extravagant lifestyle while you've got other people's money. You should pay them back. I'm going to say this over and over again, because when you look around and when you've made it, because it explodes in business, it doesn't go like this. It tends to go shoots up, shoots down, shoots up, and then you just look around and then one day you've made it after all the hard work, money's coming in, you've got plenty of investors, you've got plenty of deals, and it's really, really tempting to then go and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But while you've got people and liabilities, you want to try and make good on your loans and make good on your word, because then you wouldn't have what you have now if it wasn't for the investors. Because the chances are, if you're involved in property, you started from nothing, you've had to raise finance, you've had to leverage off other people's funds, you've had to make their money, you tend to get the asset while they get the money, and some people like to work that way. So it's always best to pay them back. Obviously, I am going to indulge eventually, and I'll know when the right time is, because the right time for me is when every single investor has their dime back. Not the banks, not the bridges, not the people who are in the industry, but I mean the private finance that we raise. When the last pound is given back or returned to that person, then I might do something quite extravagant or something that makes no sense financially. And people would expect that. People would have seen the journey, because I'm very open with where we are and what stage we're at. And I put no money, I put zero money in all my deals. So the only way I can do deals is by people trusting me. And for me to then go and be really, really reckless with my own finances sends a bad message. And it was very interesting on the vote to see who said invest and who said indulge, because I'd really like to just put tags next to people's net worth just to really, really get some data from that. But I kind of know who's doing well and who isn't. And also, surprisingly, some of the Wealth Dragon new students said indulge, which is ridiculous. You guys should always be investing, especially early on. So shame on you all. And that's my take on it. It's a pretty quick subject, this one, because the crux of the answer is until you've paid everyone's finances back and you've got no liabilities outside the banks, then I don't think you should indulge, especially when you've got investors. It sends a really, really comforting message when every hour you're spending, you're on the deal. So, for example, I've lent some money to somebody who's doing a deal, and then we'll chat, and every time I call him up, he says, I'm at the deal now. Oh, I'm on my way there. I'm doing the deal now, because he's refurbishing it himself. And I'm so relaxed about the return of the funds because of how much effort he's putting in. I'm looking from afar. Obviously, I'm watching because I have a financial interest, involvement in this deal, quite a heavy one. And I'm completely reassured because he's constantly giving me updates, and he's constantly telling me that he's there. I'm seeing from his Facebook that he's there all the time. And this has been the first time where I've been the investor. This has been the first time where I've sat back and I've been in the shoes of investor instead of investing myself. Trying to raise finance myself. The shoe is very much on the other foot. And so I'm learning a lot from how my investors will feel. And the more information you get out there, the more that they see that the person is doing their very, very best to try and get you their return back. And you see them working. That's why I do the silly little posts where I'm waiting for the plumber, I'm doing a viewing. And although it seems very I can't even think of the word, non-important or not very important, it'll send the right message out to the people who have borrowed us, who have loaned us money, who are thinking, I'm getting a bit nervous, it's a lot of money, I haven't heard anything. They see on Facebook that I'm working literally all hours God sends, apart from the odd go on Zombie Nazis, which is fantastic. I love that game. You should all get it and add me. The Landed Gent. I'm literally playing on my own. It sends a really nice message. So when I go to other people and I try and raise finance for the other deals that we've got, it's going to be really easy because they're seeing me as a sure bet. They're seeing that I work really hard. They're seeing that I've got the hustle. They're seeing that the company has got the hustle, as well as other people having their funds returned. Because there will be a point where you won't need to raise finance, for us anyway, because we haven't really got grand plans. We don't want to build a new country. We just want to build a really stable portfolio, and then the rents from the portfolio we're reinvesting, and pretty soon the rents while we do our projects will be able to fund the next deal and the next deal, and that's how we're going to grow. So in summary, when is the right time to indulge? When you've replaced your income, you've paid back all your investors, and you're stable, secure, you've got a roof over your head, everything's taken care of, and your money is earning your money. Then start to indulge. If you want to know more and work towards getting in a position where you're able to indulge, because it doesn't happen tomorrow, it doesn't happen next year, and it probably won't happen in a few years' time. It takes a long time. Property is a long game. It's not a get rich quickly scheme. It takes a long period of time, and then with consistent action, changing of your habits, consistently making the right decisions, you will eventually be in a position where you can indulge. And you may want to buy a boat, you may want to buy a supercar, and that's all fine because you've taken the action steps, you've secured your investments, you've paid back your investors. And so there is a time to indulge, and that's after you've paid your investors and you are secure. If you want to be in a position to be able to indulge, PM me. I can tell you a few courses that I took and a few people that I mentor who are on the journey as well. You can chat to them and get involved with the Wealth Dragon Circle. All right, cheers. Thank you.